As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be remembered for all of human history or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, and with me is, he used to be called Yahel Puerto Rico Jr. It's
Yahel, Steve. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here talking with you about this show, which a lot of people remember, apparently, according to Twitter.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I was a little surprised to hear that, but that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it defeats the purpose of having it on a show about obscurity.
Well, hey, I mean, as we've said before, it's all, I'm sure there's plenty of young people, people who were actually born when this show was coming out, and they have no idea that it exists.
Sure.
So they hop on this hot new format called a podcast, and then they find out about cool stuff like Surf Nazis Must Die, Tiger Sharks, and now Brisco County Jr.
And the official title is The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Right.
But we're cool, we're hip. So we just call it the Briscoe.
I just call it TBCJ or something like that. I didn't bother to figure out the acronym ahead of time.
Oh, really?
Wait, let me see if I got it. I missed the A. That's the problem. So it's TABCJ. TABCJ, baby. TABCJ.
Yeah.
Anyway. Isn't it so much better than The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.?
Yeah, if they had named it TABCJ, they wouldn't have canceled it after one season.
Oh, whoa, spoiler alert, bro. But wow, since we're already talking about it, why don't we just dive right in? What do you think?
Let's do it, Steve. Hearing that coming from your voice, it sounds so sweet coming from the lips of an angel. Hearing those words, Steve, just makes me weak.
Wow. He's actually sober today, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm actually quoting lyrics from Lips of an Angel by Hinder. Do you remember that song? Lips of an Angel.
No.
It sounds so sweet.
I think I blacked it out. Like, is that grunge or post-grunge?
It's just shitty,
shit.
Post-grunge.
Oh, yeah. It's like...
It's like the guy's singing about talking to some girl on the phone while his actual girlfriend or wife is in the next room, and he wishes he was instead with the girl that he's talking on the phone with. Why are we talking about this, Steve?
You brought it up, man.
I can't believe you have let this show get derailed.
I'm the one to blame. All right. Well, just for that, you get a feature presentation bumper, mister.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right. As we previously said, we are speaking about the one and only The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Yahel, what is your history with, first, what's your history with Bruce Campbell in general? And then what's your history with the show The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.?
Well, I thought Bruce was great in bed, but but my professional history.
Yes. Come on, you keep it clean, mister. This is a Christian show.
Oh, okay. Well, I wish he had kept it clean. If you know what I'm saying.
I don't.
I don't know what I'm saying either.
Oh my God.
To be honest. So I'm a big fan of Bruce Campbell. Army of Darkness. I can't think of anything else right now, but if he's in it, I'm more than willing to give it a chance and give it a watch.
Do you remember your first time being introduced to Bruce Campbell, the actor? Obviously, watching him on a show. What was it? Yeah.
I want to say it was Army of Darkness. It might have been The Evil Dead. It was definitely one of those two.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where I like first remember seeing him in something. What about you?
This was my first time. I had never even heard of the guy.
What?
Yeah.
Brisco County Jr.
Yeah.
was your first
I
time?
never I don't know. I don't think I sort of went through my horror phase until like probably after this. Of course I watched all this.
Yeah, I'm just surprised. I just feel like he was like in a lot of stuff.
Not a lot of mainstream stuff. Of course, like up until this, it was mostly, you've got your Evil Dead movies and of course Army of Darkness, and then you've got your extreme like super like C and B movies like that are less memorable than Evil Dead and all that other stuff. Stuff like, let me see if I can remember some off the top of my head. Well, when we get to the IMDb section, I'm sure they'll pop into our head there.
Yeah.
But
I can drop a couple nuggets.
For sure. But no, this was the first time, and I thought he was great. And then I remember my friends and I were watching Hercules: The Legendary Journey with, of course, evangelist Kevin Sorbo.
With Soldier of God,
yes,
Kevin
but
Sorbo is actually how I
of course before that he was just regular awesome Kevin Sorbo, and there was that was when Oculus, the King of Thieves, was on there, and I was like, hey, look, it's Brisco County Jr. And my friend and his brother were like, what are you talking about, man? That's Ash. And I was like, who? And then that sort of started my journey down like the Evil Dead dark road. And I pretty much have seen everything else that he was in. And I've met him a few times at cons. I read his book. I was a Bruce Campbell fanboy. There you are. And still am. I'll admit it. I still am. It's hilarious that...
Well, there's a lot more of him to love these days.
I feel like there's less.
No, he's gaining.
Oh, that's what you're saying. I'm like, I feel like he's just less in the public eye. He just sort of like the last thing I remember watching him in was he hosted Ripley's Believe It or Not, and believe it or not, that show sucked. Well, it just wasn't for me, but I'm sure it was a cake gig for him. He just had to show up and talk to the camera.
I looked at his bio earlier. He's been working pretty steadily still. He's got some stuff coming out. And posted some posts, and he hasn't stopped.
Yeah, well, I know they're producing more Evil Dead content, and he was in, of course, Ash versus Evil Dead, the Stars show, which was pretty good. I don't know if you ever.
Yeah, there's gonna be a video game, an Evil Dead video game.
Right.
He's doing Ash in it.
You can't do the video game without him, but apparently you can move forward with remakes without him, because there's Evil Dead Rise is coming out soon, but. Anyway, I think that pretty much covers Mr. Campbell for now. Did you watch Brisco County Jr. when it premiered all the way back in 1993, August 27th? I always say the year first.
I remember the show like vividly, like the commercials for it. However, I know I didn't watch it regularly, but pretty sure I watched one episode all the way through, at least because I think there's an episode that John Delancey is in it. John Delancey, who plays Q in Star Trek: The Next Generation, the greatest show on Earth. So I believe I might have watched it then, but I also may be confusing it with, did UPN have like a Western
Legend
show? Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he was on. Q was on that. Yeah.
He was like a regular.
Yes, he was.
Like he was. With Stargate,
with
right?
Stargate.
MacGyver, Richard D.
With Stargate, yes. Star Trek was a regular with Stargate on Legend on UPN.
In that case, Steven, it's very unlikely I watched any of.
So you're the reason it got canceled. Wow, this is
Yeah, I just kept saying I'm gonna wait till season 2 to get into it.
What a revelation! I don't think we can continue forward as podcast co-hosts, but.
You didn't even know who Bruce Campbell was until this show, so
hey, that just shows
so
the power of this show, or maybe it doesn't. Ooh, stick around and find out. But no, I remember specifically watching this pilot and enjoying it quite a bit. And anyway, let's get into the synopsis here for those who are unfamiliar with Brisco County Jr. Brisco County Jr. is hired by the attorney of a group of robber barons to track down and apprehend the infamous John Bly and his gang, a job that was previously entrusted to his late father, Brisco County Sr. This episode, the pilot, that is, which is actually like almost like a full-length movie. It's clocks in at about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I did not realize it was 2 episodes, like a feature-length thing, and it's shot like a movie. Like it feels like a decently budgeted movie.
Oh yeah, I agree completely. The only thing, I mean, and this is of course is nitpicking. I mean, I wish it would have been shot in like full screen, or widescreen. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, but whatever. This is a TV pilot. That's all we can do. Anyway, this is directed by one former porn director, Brian Spicer. With a name like that, he pretty much had But according to the IMDb, he did not work in porn. He's still working today. Aside from this, he did the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. A couple episodes of SeaQuest 2032. Please check out our previous SeaQuest review of that pilot.
Isn't that just like what they had like called the second season of? Oh, by the way, in the chat here, we do have Stadium Arts joining us again, aka Stry. Thank you. He said that this is to Westerns what Evil Dead. Oh, he was asking, is it to Western what Evil Dead is to horror?
I would say. There's a lot of genre bending here, which we're going to talk about for sure. And just to finish up Mr. Spicer's filmography here, he also directed. Do you remember Parker Lewis Can't Lose?
Yeah,
we might have to do that someday. And rounding it off with Salute Your Shorts. The Nickelodeon show. And this was written by 3 dudes. Starting off, we've got David Simkins, who is also still working. He, wrote a few episodes of the Netflix show Woo Assassins, which I've actually watched a few of those. The fight scenes are good, but there's magic. But anyway, he also did Blade the series, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, Yahel's favorite.
Another show that's helmed by someone that we've covered, Dean Cain. Another guy that went from a fun, awesome action hero to serving as the vengeance of God now.
Man, somebody has got to direct a buddy comedy with Sorbo and Kane. But you and I we'll spitball that after we're done here.
We'll workshop.
Writer number 2 is Jeffrey Boehm. And now, Yahel, while you were watching this pilot, did you think to yourself, wow, this really feels like Indiana Jones and or The Phantom with Billy Zane? Were you thinking that at one point?
Yeah, you can definitely right off the bat get the Indiana Jones inspiration vibes right off the bat.
And that is because Jeffrey Boehm wrote Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, along with The Lost Boys, Tales from the Crypt, a few episodes there, Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, and then the last movie he wrote was The Phantom, starring Billy Zane.
Damn, this guy was writing nothing but bangers, as the kids would say. Like, those are all great movies.
I enjoyed The Phantom when I watched it as a, 16-year-old. But sadly, that was the last film he wrote. And then there's, like, some weird short film. And then, unfortunately, he passed away. So, The Phantom will be his legacy.
What did he do? Like watch all his movies back to back, and his heart couldn't handle like how talented he is.
You know what? That's exactly what it said on the IMDb. Okay, rounding off this 3-headed hydra of a writing team is Carlton Cuse, who is also still currently working. They call him currently Carlton Cuse in the business. He's on, this is interesting, he's on pre-pro for a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy project, which, I'm a big fan of that book. And he also wrote a few episodes of Nash Bridges and Martial Law. And I guess one of his later ones is that Jack Ryan show on Prime, Amazon Prime, which is okay. I don't know. It's not my favorite. But and lastly, this was produced by Boehm Cuse Productions and Warner Brothers Television and distributed by Fox. So why don't you hip us to this pretty awesome cast, if I dare say so myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, of course, Bruce Campbell. He's the lead, aka Brisco County Jr. We've already kind of talked about, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead. Then there was the show Ash vs. Evil Dead that came out in 2015. He was in Bubba Hotep.
Oh, there you go.
He's been in a bunch of stuff. Wasn't he in on that USA show, the Burn
Notice?
series,
Oh yeah.
Burn Notice. Thank you. So he was great in that, and that's actually a pretty good show.
Great show.
For those who haven't checked that out, surprisingly good. He was also more recently in a TV series called Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. It ran from 2018 to 2020. It sounds like a kid's show, right? And then the next thing he did was another, I'm assuming, kid series called The Last Kids on Earth. He was a chef.
Wow.
It's a chef voice, so I guess it was animated. He did that from 2020 to 2021, and then he's been doing some guest spots here and there the last couple of years, and he has a few movies, looks like, in post-production. So, yeah, more Bruce Campbell for Steve to pleasure.
Hey, you're the one who said you slept with him.
I didn't finish what I was saying. I could have said anything at the end of that sentence. We don't know.
In fact, let's just get that internet rumor going. The co-host of Obscurity Now and creator Wrestling with Gaming, Yahel Velazquez, has romantic relations with one Bruce Campbell. There.
Well, I don't know if you'd call him romantic.
So are you telling me he wasn't a gentle lover?
I'm just saying that I'd have to go back and look at what I can discuss as per the agreement that I signed.
All right, continue onward, please, sir.
Yeah, we also have in the chat here Two Real Geeks. Just want to say hey real quick to them. Thank you for joining. All right, going down the other cast members. This is a pretty big cast, so I'm not going to mention everybody. Julius Carey plays Lord Bowler, who's kind of becomes a frenemy, I guess you could say, by the end of it, of Brisco County Jr. He's great, just really ornery and really.
You know who I thought he would be? What X-Man he would be perfect to play as, like back in the 90s? Bishop? You got it.
Yeah, he's got the hair for it. Yeah. We have Dan Geritry as John Collier, Christian Clemenson as Socrates Poole, who I love that name, like Socrates Poole. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He has like 96 acting credits to his name, but nothing that really stuck out to me, like that people might know him from, other than maybe CSI Miami, because he was on that for like 3 years as Dr. Tom Lohman. But I mean, he was on Boston Legal also for a while with William Shatner from Star Trek. Nice. Billy Drago plays John Bly.
So good, so good. We just.
Yeah, Billy Drago.
Just don't get enough of him. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, he's been in tons of stuff. I think he died a couple years ago, though.
He was the go-to bad guy for so many movies and TV shows from like the late 80s all the way through the 90s. Yeah,
he just has that look to him, that face. A lot of sharp angles. John, I don't know what to say. John Astin plays Professor Albert Wickwire, another great name. He's got 157 acting credits, and he's still, despite this guy's up there, he was born in 1930, he's got something in post-production right now.
Wow.
Starship 2, Rendezvous, and Ramses. But yeah, he was done, like, still working in 2018. He did some voice work for the Justice
I'd
League
say he's
show.
Most known for being the original Gomez from Addams Family.
Yep, good point. But yeah, and he's really funny. I thought he did.
He was great.
Besides that, John Piper Ferguson is Peter Hutter. Isn't there like a gag with one of the characters? Now maybe I have seen this because I'm remembering that there was like a character that like always died.
Oh yeah, that's
they always brought him back like by the end of the episode. Or something, and like had some outlandish reason why he survived.
Yeah, that's Pete. Let's see who plays him on because he definitely should.
It's this guy that I'm just talking about, John Piper Ferguson. He plays.
Oh,
Peter
there
Hutter.
You go, Peter. The Peter threw me off. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
He's just Pete to me.
You were on
he's just Pete.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I vaguely remember something like. I must have watched an episode because I remember something like he got gotten shot in the stomach because I don't think that happened this episode. he got like shot in the stomach, and later on, like, I think it was Brisco County. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were dead," and he's like, says something like, "No, it was just a gut shot wound. Now I'm alive, but not as hungry as I used to be," or something like that, or less of an appetite.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Anyways, I'm not gonna list too many more people. Oh wait, there are some people I did make special.
Okay. Uh-oh. I know what I think that means.
So yeah, John Piper Ferguson is one of them. He also played Eli Hollander in TNG great episode Fistful of Datas, which coincidentally is a Western episode on the holodeck. And he plays the exact same kind of character in that. So awesome. Pretty interesting, and I don't think that's a coincidence. John Astin, who I already mentioned, he was in the original Star Trek episode The Conscience of the King. There's somebody on the cast also named Burt Remsen. He's the judge. He was pretty good. He was Cubus in The Collaborator on Deep Space Nine. Then we've got Bill Boland. He was Lightning Bill in Brisco County Jr., but we all fell in love with him as the albino on the DS9 episode. I think the episode's called.
I thought it was something about albinos. I think is what it's called.
It's actually like about an albino Klingon that like Dax has to go. Yeah, it's Klingon stuff. But yeah, these are all of the people that are Star Trek folks, and all the people. And the only other person I wanted to discuss was Kelly Rutherford. She plays Dixie Cousins, and Amanda Tremco, Amanda Wickwire, the daughter of John Astin, who again we all know from Star Trek.
All right, are you ready for it? Are you ready? Okay.
I'm ready. Hit me, Steve. It's been a minute.
There it is.
Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection.
I missed it. I missed it.
Yeah, it's been a bit since we've been able to use it. I was happy to see that there were four real stars.
Yeah.
In Briscoe County.
A lot of talent in here. Did you happen to go if you go all the way down to the cast, you will see the name of one Terry Funk. Did you see that?
No, I didn't, but I know that he did stunt work and stuff.
It says he's a character, like some...
yeah, it just says defendant.
I tried clicking on it. It didn't really show me a picture or anything, but I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
It must be during the courtroom scene. I bet he's just one of the people in
Sure,
line.
he just needed a paycheck that day to buy painkillers.
Yeah. I just need a paycheck just for this one day, just to see, Oh, Mick, should have seen Bruce Campbell. What a handsome man.
You sound like that
Anyways, for those that
pedophile from Family Guy.
Oh, I guess I kind of do. Well, that's kind of what Terry Funk
true.
sounds like. He's got
it's true.
Yeah, I'll work on.
Okay.
My.
All right. So yeah, as you said, huge cast, but I think you hit all the high points for sure. Yeah. So we will go briskly, Brisco Countily.
Well, before I did want to just again to set what was going on in pop culture. The number one film in the U.S. was the not Western movie, The Fugitive.
It's a good one.
In the U.K., the number one film was Jurassic Park at the time. This is the week of August 27th, 1993, which is when this aired. And the number one song in the U.S. I couldn't find for the U.K., but it was. Oh, wait, I did find it for the UK. It was Can't Help Falling in Love with You by UB40.
Oh, all right.
And in the UK, it was Living on My Own by Freddie Mercury.
Nice. Freddie Mercury? All by himself? Huh. I didn't even know he was still alive then. Well, all right.
Yeah, I guess.
How about, hey, you can't stop him now because he's having such a good time.
Oh, Steve, I can't help falling in love with you.
Thanks for making it weird. I could always count on that. All right.
Well, you said the name of the song, so I said the name of the other song. I thought we're doing a bit here, baby.
Oh, we're doing a bit, all right. All right. So we're going to, as I said, we're going to go through the movie here. So let's just kick it off. All right. So we open with the title, The Adventures of Brisco County Jr., written in the most boring font possible, superimposed atop an old map of the USA from like the late 1800s. I don't know why they chose, maybe they just didn't know what kind of logo they were going for at the time, or maybe they were just trying to make it look like it was from a book or something, but I don't know. The font really bothered me. How about you?
Yeah, the font sucked. What did you think about the theme song
Oh,
itself?
I loved it. I like the music overall. It feels once again very Indiana Jones-ish. What do you think about it?
I liked the music throughout the episode. However, I thought the theme song was a bit underwhelming. I don't know. I just thought it was like real slow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess
And
it's slow at the beginning of the pilot, but like, when they play the opener in the regular shows, it's like that more rollicking sort of Indiana Jones style. Yeah.
we'll see. I mean, so I feel like it might turn people off because it's literally the first thing that they open with is just like a slow song, like panning over this map really
Right.
slowly.
All right.
And,
I could see that.
so
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe
yeah,
like, I don't know, 13-year-olds. No, wait, I wasn't even there. Probably younger than that. Somehow I still sat through it. But anyway, so yeah, we then track through a mining camp. Most of the workers appear to be Chinese, as evident by their, that hat that Raiden wears. I don't know what it's
that
properly
hat.
called. I'm sorry. Like, they don't wear that in the
Wow.
Philippines. My wife never told me what it's called, and I never bothered to Google it. Do you know what it's called? It's just a Raiden hat.
Steve. Steve, I don't know why I'm googling it right now because I am kind of curious. Let's see. It is called a
Oh.
Shutterstock.com. Sorry, these are just Shutterstock images of it. So yeah, fishing hat.
I think Raiden hat sounds a little bit cooler. But anyway, so we go inside one of the mines. The workers, they find this weird-looking thing that we later find out is called the orb. The best way I could describe it is that it looks like a sphere with like large gold bullets poking out of it. Do you think that does it?
Yeah, I mean I thought it looked a little weird, but I guess it's supposed
Oh
to
yeah, I
because
mean,
it's
even back then I was like, "What the heck is that?" And yeah, I mean, it basically
yeah,
just gets even weirder as the show goes
yeah.
on. So one of the workers pulls out one of the bullets, which we later find out is called a rod. On the other end, it looks like a lightsaber from Star Wars. He waves it in front of his coworkers. The lightning bolts strike the workers and give them the strength to break their chains, and then they walk out. So that was basically our cold open. What did you think of that cold open?
Right away I was like, whoa, this looks like a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it feels like a movie. It's shot like a movie. It's not shot like your standard 1993 TV where you have a lot of just like one still camera. There's a lot of like I don't know if they were crane shots but there's a lot of movement with the shots with like the
Yeah,
shots.
it definitely feels
Um,
like. I mean, this shot could have been taken right out of what the
Indiana
the
Jones.
second one. When they're in the children are mining to get the weird stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was an awesome
Looked great.
opening, and
Special effects look pretty decent too. The lightning.
yeah, they
stuff.
really hold up.
Yeah, and the motion tracking on it's pretty good too. Like, because the camera's panning as like they're like have the lightning like kind of going through their hands and stuff.
Yeah, it's
So back then you wouldn't normally see a shot like that. You wouldn't see the camera move because obviously it was more difficult, to track that. Kind of
Right,
stuff.
yeah, very cinematic. So off to a great start, and just in case you're unfamiliar with Brisco County Jr., like every sort of commercial break, of course. Well, I mean, I guess they technically have commercials on Tubi, but every commercial break they have a new name for like I guess the next section that's coming up. So. We see chapter 1, and the name of this chapter is The Blast Supper, which already off to a
Yeah.
great start. I mean,
Yeah, there's a bunch of puns. Like I know like one of them like later on when it looks like there's a train that's gonna fall over or something off a cliff. It's called like Grave Peril.
oh
Or
yeah, I
something
wrote
like
them all
that,
down. So yeah, we'll
Oh,
we'll
okay,
get to
great.
them.
Okay, then I'll zip.
Yeah,
my
in fact,
mouth.
can you just not talk for the rest of the episode?
Yeah, that's fine, Steve. As I said earlier in the opening, you have the lips of an angel, and hearing the words from you makes me weak, and I never want to say goodbye.
Wow, man,
Steve, but girl,
what's wrong with you?
You make it hard to be faithful.
Are you down with the
lips.
sickness? What's going on over here?
Ooh, wah, ah.
Anyway, so yeah, chapter 1, The
Impressive
Blast
body.
Supper. Now we are on a train. there are a bunch of men with bags over their heads, chained up in one of the by their wrists in one of the cars. This is later revealed to be the John Bly gang. And then we sort of track up to the back of one of the other cars, and sitting back, all relaxed, is Marshal Brisco County Sr., and a reporter is asking him questions on how he caught the amazing John Bly gang, and basically he doesn't want to answer any of the reporter's questions because he's too cool for that kind of stuff. And
Indeed.
And then we cut to Pete, or Peter Hutter, known to one Yahel Velazquez. He is sort of monologuing to this painter about, like, I don't know, neoclassical art or something like that. The painter is painting something and you can't really see it. And again, this is like great camera work. It pulls back to show that they are painting a horizon on a rock. So I guess basically the idea is by the time the conductor of the train realizes that they're about to run into a rock, it's too late because it's
literally a Looney Tunes.
It is. Oh man, yeah.
It's the painting of a fake hole or a fake pass, like in a rock or whatever, to make somebody crash into it. But it's like the inverse of that, where they're painting like this big scenery.
Yep. So that's like genre like number one that they filter into this show. Looney Tunes. Yeah. And then Daddy Briscoe realizes the reporter is no longer wearing his tie pin, and that is because one of the prisoners swiped it. He then begins picking the lock on his shackles or handcuffs, whatever you want to call them. The handcuffs fall off, and very slowly, in the most theatrically cool way possible, John Bly / Billy Drago slithers out of his mask. Like, do you know what I'm talking? He's just got this way of like flailing his arms about, and like it's very like sort of David Bowie-esque almost. Like I feel like a younger Billy Drago could have played like David Bowie in a biopic or something. But they're both dead, so moving on. So the train hits the rock. Pete and the rest of the gang board the train. They throw guns down into to where Bly and the rest of the gang are. Daddy Briscoe opens the door in hopes to reapprehend the prisoners, but he is then met with a barrage of bullets to the face. And that was a pretty cool shot. Like when he opens the door, it's just all these guns right in his face. And you don't see him get, turned into Swiss cheese, basically. But yeah, I mean, I remember back then I was like, wow, they just killed that guy. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. Like, I don't know, I kind of thought he was going to save the day. But that's the great thing about this show, is that it takes a lot of sort of Western conventions and turns it on its head. Any comments about any of that stuff?
No, I think you touched on everything, like, pretty much. Like, it's a good introduction into what later becomes, we learn, is Briscoe's motivations for Briscoe Jr.'s motivations for what he goes on to do.
Absolutely. So we are then treated to the classic spinning newspaper, which states that Marshal Briscoe is dead. And that's, basically just to show, I mean, and I guess it's also sort of hammered in from the reporter that Marshal Brisco County Sr. is basically like a celebrity. He's this legendary lawman that later Brisco County Jr. is going to have to try to live up to. We are now in, I guess, a newspaper room with the reporter from the train. He made it out, and now I guess he broke his arms, and he's dictating like an article to his underlings. He says that the rich guys who own the railroad are hiring a bounty hunter to catch John Bly. And one of the underlings thinks that it'll be Lord Bowler, which is cool that they're already mentioning like future characters just to get you familiar with the names and stuff. But he's like, no, it's Brisco County Jr. He then says that Jr. is a refined Harvard man, and he has no idea how they were able to rope him into it. Cut to Briscoe sitting on a horse surrounded by shady-looking dudes who then throw a noose over his head. which is pretty funny little transition there, I'd say. A nice little pun, if you will. They ask if he has any last words, and he says, "I didn't do it." They then slap the horse on the rear, so it'll run off, thus hanging him. But he doesn't run because it's Comet, the Wonder Horse, and he always does what Briscoe says, sort of. And also...
Yeah, there's a one scene later that he kind of does.
Right. He just does what he wants because Comet, he's like the pimp of horses, I guess. I don't know. A woman comes out and says she found the ace of spades. It was hidden in one of the shady dude's pockets. So thus sort of exonerating Briscoe. I guess he was accused of being cheated. The best part is that they don't really spell out exactly what's going on, but you can figure it out just by all the stuff that's just happening within the scene. They open fire on each other. One of them accidentally severs the rope around Briscoe's neck, and he rides away. Any comments on that scene, Yahel?
No, it's a fun scene. It does a good job of kind of establishing like the kind of character Briscoe is, and Comet, who becomes like pretty important. Kind of establishes their rapport. I guess you could say.
Great characterization. Yeah, you already sort of figure out like almost immediately like the kind of guy that Briscoe is, and it really is like the role. I mean, I almost wonder if the guys who wrote this already had like Bruce Campbell in mind, because it's like the perfect role for him to play.
I read that during his. By the way, we also have here in the chat I think there's a new viewer, Pig Dan 20. Thanks for joining. But yeah, if I remember, I read that like during his audition, Bruce Campbell did a backflip. Because he said that like he knew it was gonna be like a physical role, and the show itself would have a lot of physicality and action, so he wanted to show them that like he was willing to like jump into the character.
Pun intended. Well, I mean, Sam Raimi tortured him pretty hard on those Evil Dead movies and Army of Darkness, so I'm sure he could take it at the time. So anyway, where are we here? I have to wait.
Oh, I apologize. Pig Dan said that he's listened to some episodes, he or she, so my bad.
Sweet. Welcome aboard, Pig Dan. And yes, you're right. Two Real Geeks. Bruce is God. So, all right.
He wrote good, Steve. You're projecting.
I think I am. All right. So, cut to the Westfield Club, which is where all the robber barons sort of hang out. And Socrates Poole, who also ends up being a regular character, is there. And they are asking him how much longer they have to wait for Brisco County Jr. to show up. He then shows up, and like in the middle of sort of being interviewed, Comet also tries to walk into the room, and Briscoe says he doesn't know he's a horse, which is pretty funny. Briscoe meets the bosses. They sort of introduce them one by one, and they ask him about being a lawyer. He says he's not a lawyer anymore. Briscoe then calls them robber barons, which is like a big slang back then. But he tells them in sort of a monologue-y kind of fashion that he's the man for the job. And cut to Socrates tells him he's just there to give him a paycheck. He also then gives Briscoe his father's hat and gun. Briscoe finds a note that tells him Briscoe then finds a note, it's like on the floor, to go to a restaurant. So they do. And did I miss anything in that one? Okay.
No, you covered everything. I would just say it's established pretty early on that Socrates isn't a fan of Brisco County Jr. And, Socrates is probably maybe the most, at least initially, maybe the most kind of generic kind of character. He's your atypical guy that's super well educated, so he looks down on everybody. He's kind of like, but as we see more of him throughout the episode, they actually do a really good job of fleshing it out, and he isn't just some generic character.
He's got a great character arc, and he's basically the middle manager here at the beginning, and he's like, I don't want to have anything to do with you uncouth cowboy types. But that definitely changes by the time we get to the end of the pilot. So cut to a restaurant. Briscoe and Socrates sit down, And then the writer of that note sits down, and it's one Lord Bowler, who tells Briscoe he's the one going after the Bly gang and to step aside. Bowler then puts dynamite on the table and lights it up. He sort of challenges Briscoe.
It's kind of they're kind of like playing chicken with the dynamite. Who's going to lead first?
Which is great. Like super over the top and pulpy. I love it. Great idea. Briscoe is completely unfazed and orders food. The waiter comes up and he's like scared to death, and he's like, "What do you recommend?" And the waiter's like, "The minute steak," which is just like just the perfect amount of cheese right there. So now there is a commercial break, and then we come back, and it's chapter 2, and it's called "Scarred Feet Turn Up the Heat." And that we figure out what that means a little bit later. The dynamite fuse continues to burn but Bowler eventually gives in and cuts off the fuse. Again, it's a great sort of show of Briscoe and how he's Mr. Cool under pressure. They then fight, and Briscoe wins, and the cops come and lock him up. Of course, like, Briscoe is the lead, and everything is going to work out for him. Like, I almost wish that maybe he wouldn't have won so easy, in their fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's kind of anticlimactic in that way, and it almost makes you think that you're not gonna see the Lord. What's his name? Lord Bowley. Bowler, thank you. Like, you're not going to see that character again because he was kind of disposed of so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been better if they could have had him like maybe use his brain or cheat or something. Because to me, Lord Bowler is like the muscle. He's the brawler. Like, he probably would win in a one-on-one, but whatever. We don't need to dwell on it. So cut to the mine. The owner of the mines, Mr. Thorogood. He was actually in the room with Briscoe when he was being hired. And a government agent are arguing over the weird orb from the beginning. The agent says it needs to be packed up and taken away for study. And this is the start of many sort of jokes about the future that's about to happen. They originally call it what do they call it? An unearthed found object. And the guy who has to write it on like the box that they're transporting in, he's like, "That's a mouthful. I'm just going to write UFO on the box."
Funny.
I mean, that's just little things like that. Just make this worth watching. So cut to the courthouse. Terry Funk is somewhere in there. Briscoe gets his case thrown out by using his lawyer skills. And this is sort of I'd say it's almost kind of a classic sort of action comedy trope. Immediately, Lord Bowler is like, "Hey, I'm not with this guy." And then Briscoe starts arguing his case. He gets it thrown out, but old Bowler, he gets 60 days. I think it's because the judge was racist, but
Yeah, and it's funny because just before that, like, Bowler is like says like to the judge, like, "I'm not with Briscoe, like, don't let me in with him." And then like as soon as like Briscoe kind of talks his way out of it, he's like, "Wait, I'm with him," like the classic, like. But that doesn't like. I know it probably just sounds kind of like generic and dopey for somebody who hasn't watched and just is hearing about this, but Bowler is like so like over the top, like he just like really like dives into his character and like he makes it fun, so it really does work, even though it's kind of like a lame and old joke.
But this is like as we said before, it's like a mashup of like pulp and genres, and it all works, I think. Spoiler alert. Anyway, Bly. Wait, what happens here? Okay, cut to Bly's lair. They are planning to rob a train. Later, it's discovered it's the one that has the orb on it that's being transferred. A guy comes from San Francisco to tell Bly that the robber barons hired Brisco County Jr. To track him down. Bly tells him to leave. Oh, he like thanks him. He's all very, very cordial in the slithery Billy Drago way. And he's like, "Make sure you stay to the left." And then the guy walks off frame, and all of a sudden you hear him scream, and then a bunch of like snake noises. So apparently they have.
I couldn't tell if it was snakes or he fell in the water or something, but because he was like, "Make sure to stay to the left because it's dangerous."
And then he goes, "Oh wait, or is it the right? And they all laugh and like the classic sort of bad guy henchman. Yeah, and I just think it's hilarious that the Bly gang has a snake pit in their in their lair. Just hilarious pulp sensibilities right there. So now we're back with Briscoe and Socrates. They are planning their next move. Briscoe says they should go talk to the painter of the rock. Then there's a knock at the door. Briscoe opens it to reveal 3 Asian dudes. And of course, since this is the 90s, he goes, "Hey, fellas, I'm sorry. I didn't order Chinese." And then, of course, they attack him with kung fu or martial arts. He grabs one of their feet and looks at it, and it's scarred. So this is the Scarred Foot Gang, which I forgot to mention in the previous scene. Bly says to send the Scarred Foot Gang after Briscoe and Socrates. So, Briscoe is holding his own pretty well against 3 kung fu guys, but still, he and Socrates get kicked out of a window, and he's holding on the edge while Socrates holds on to his waist. And then below them is a what do they call it, like a horse cart just filled with like rusty farm equipment, like pitchforks and stuff. So
instead of like you were talking about how they like take a trope and like flip it on its head, so like normally it'd be like hay or something soft for them to like land on would be the trope, but now it's just like every sharp farm instrument that was around,
right? And then they also they throw in another sort of way you think it's gonna go. Like Briscoe is telling Socrates to like get his gun to shoot like the member of the Scarred Foot Clan who's above him, trying to stomp on his fingers. And of course, Socrates can't do it because he's that's just not his thing. And the guy stomps on his hand. They fall, and then the cart moves forward to, just like Yahel said, reveal a cart full of hay that they fall into. And before that happens, we actually get a chapter 3. It says hot flames, 2 dames, and loose reins.
Before you continue, I do want to point out, and maybe we should have mentioned this earlier. Two Real Geeks asked where we can find the show, where it can be watched, since he says after listening to us talk about it sounds good. You can watch this for free on Tubi.
Yep.
TUBI is the name of the app, so.
Tubi's awesome. A lot of good stuff on there. Some really bad early Bruce films too are on there. Bruce then I guess he grabbed a medallion from one of the guys while they were fighting, and then Bruce sort of parts ways with Socrates. He's like, "I'm heading to Chinatown. I'm gonna find out what this medallion means." He then goes to this antique store where a clerk is, and as soon as the clerk looks at the medallion, he kicks out Briscoe. Oh, after asking for money or asking for him to buy something, and their whole exchange was, I don't know, so funny.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. The shop owner says like, wait, don't you want to buy something so you don't feel guilty, so you don't feel any guilt from like, you don't feel like you're using me and feel guilty, about it. And he's like, fine, I'll buy. How much for that? And he says $20, which is
a lot of money back then. Yeah.
This is like the 1800s, right? So it's a lot of money, or 1790, right? I think is actually what it is. So something
1890,
like that. So it was just like, it was like a ridiculous amount. 1890, thank you. And I think part of it is like, so this is very much like, it's a Western, but at the same time, the characters have like a lot of like 90s sensibilities.
Sure, absolutely.
And attitudes about stuff. So it's really cool how they somehow blend it though in a way that like,
well, the genius thing here is that could have just been a regular scene where he just comes in, he's like, "Hey, you got any information about the Scarred Foot Clan?" And then the other guy could just be like, "Well, how much is it worth to you?" Like they went out of their way to like create like this fresh like exchange that you really haven't seen in other places, like, and really just sort of use the environment to their ability, best ability. But anyway, so the guy kicks him out, and but Briscoe, he's like, "I want my my money back." He taps on the window. Like there's a sign that says open. The clerk turns it over, and then it just says shut.
Shut.
Who thinks of that?
So stupid. It was such like when I saw it, it reminded me of like an Arrested Development.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. But
yeah, it was great.
But that wasn't enough for Briscoe. He takes his, I guess, a switchblade. Who knew they even had him back then? And sort of picks the lock of the door, goes in. The clerk is nowhere to be found. So Briscoe goes behind the counter, basically. Yeah, he's looking for evidence or something, and there's a bell there, and it says, "Ring bell only once." So, of course, he rings it twice, and a trap door opens up, and he falls into this, like another sort of underground lair or underground tunnel. And as he progresses through, we see that this is basically the underground lair of the Scarred Foot Clan, and like dudes are in there practicing their kung fu on hot coals, which is why they all have scarred feet. Like, I mean, that's just brilliant world building. And now we've gone from like a Western, and now we're in a kung fu movie. Like, it's just so brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, it all kind of works. None of it ever feels jarring.
Nope.
Or like
weird. It all fits in this perfectly pulp world. So the leader, or one of the dudes in the Scarred Foot Clan is like, no, actually it's the leader. Yeah, he says, "Oh, you're gonna make great fodder for like one of my trainees." Basically, he's like, "So we're gonna force you to fight." So they push him over to the. Again, this is kind of like almost a classic sort of action movie kind of trope, especially in the martial arts genre. And you think you're about to see a cool fight between Briscoe and one of the Scarred Foot Clan, but then the leader of the Scarred Foot Clan finds his gun, which of course previously belonged to Briscoe's dad, and he's just like, "Where did you get this?" And it's like, "Oh, it belonged to my father." And then basically it's revealed that there was a previous relationship between the Scarred Foot Clan and Brisco County Jr. And the guy's name is Lee, the leader. He tells, basically, he ends up telling. They talk about how the orb freed, some of the Chinese workers, and blah blah blah. He basically tells Briscoe to go look up Dixie Cousins, who is the girlfriend of Big Smith, who is like the right hand man of John Bly.
Right, the man whose gang killed Briscoe Jr.'s
Exactly.
dad.
Yeah. So basically, we're back with Briscoe and Socrates. They are at. I put it as a speakeasy, but it's basically a bar type place where they also have like a stage. Briscoe tells him that he's looking for Dixie Cousins, which is a hilarious name. And Socrates says, "It's a huge city. You'll never find her." And of course, on cue, the curtains open up, and Dixie Cousins comes out and performs a Jessica Rabbit style, like, sexy song for all the men in the audience. While that's going on, some other cowpokes are messing around with a blonde woman, and she fights them off, punches them right in the face, and accidentally punches Briscoe. She ends up being the daughter of Professor Albert McGuire. Her name is Amanda. And like they basically, chat a bit, and then Socrates.
Albert Wickwire, not MacGyver.
I said McGuire. Yeah, Wickwire. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I had a hard time understanding him when he said his last name, but yes, thank you for the correction.
Yeah, Professor Wickwire. No.
So they send Socrates then hoots and hollers about Dixie. Briscoe then follows Dixie away from the concert hall, or whatever you want to call it. Gets in the stagecoach with her after stealing a ticket. And Briscoe then tells Socrates that he has to feed Comet a nice shiny green apple while he's gone. And he goes and actually does this, where he goes to, but he only brings a red apple. Of course, like, Comet doesn't like that. And then out of nowhere, Comet starts talking to Socrates.
Yeah,
which is so dumb, but it's like hilarious. It's like you ask yourself, it's like, how far are they really gonna like push the boundaries of reality here in Briscoe County Jr.
Right.
And then it really just ends up being Lord Bowler pretending to be a talking horse.
Yeah, Lord Bowler was like down in the I don't know what you call like the stable,
the
stall that Comet is in, but he's like out of camera view and out of view of what's his face. But at first I was like kind of thinking the same. I'm like, are they really gonna have Comet talk? And then like after like maybe like a couple sentences, you're like, oh wait a minute, this sounds like Lord Bauer, you know, and you know like he's somewhere around. But
right, yeah, pretty hilarious. Just like I just love how they play with all the tropes and conventions and stuff. So he says he's looking for Briscoe, and of course Socrates is like, I think he tells him he doesn't know or isn't gonna tell him.
So and Socrates figures out that it's Boland.
Yes.
Like he knows the whole time.
Yes. And so now they're having a regular conversation, and Socrates says he doesn't know. Why don't you ask Comet? And Bowler's like, and then basically they cut to Dixie and Briscoe. They are on the stagecoach and they're chatting. Briscoe gives her a fake name and says that he's selling like grooming equipment, like for animals and stuff. Meanwhile, Pete and the gang wait for the stagecoach. The stagecoach drivers get drunk just out of nowhere. They just get drunk and fall off the stagecoach. I think they. Yeah, sure. Why not? I can believe it. It's the Wild West, right? Everyone's drunk. So now we're treated to Chapter 4 called Lowdown Showdown. Briscoe tells Dixie this elaborate plan for how he's going to stop the stagecoach. And then he goes, or we could just jump. So they open the door and jump right out of the stagecoach, which is really funny. Briscoe then lands in a comical fashion on top of Dixie, right in front of the Bly gang and Big Pete, Dixie's boyfriend. After some introductions, Big Smith tells Pete to shoot him. Briscoe tells them that he's actually not a salesman or whatever, that he's an outlaw named Kansas Wally Stafford. And then one of the thugs, of course they don't believe him, and one of the thugs goes, oh yeah? Well, where are you from? Briscoe goes, Kansas?
Well, he named like a real outlaw was the problem. Like the name Briscoe says, because one of the people in the Bly gang like it's like, oh God, it's you, and you know I was there when you killed whatever 5 people at some saloon or it's yada yada, and then but then the rest of the gang doesn't believe that it's him. You know, it's too convenient. So it is a real person. That he's like referring to himself. Right.
So they decide not to shoot him. Also, Dixie was saying, "Oh, he, Briscoe saved her. Please don't shoot him." Blah blah blah. So I mean, they're already sort of planting the seeds of a future romance. Yes. So they go to this small town by the name of Southern Creek, which they say, like, I don't know, they already ran the mayor out and basically took over. As you do in the Wild West.
As you do.
Big Smith buys Briscoe a drink, and Big Smith tells Briscoe that he was one of the many people who murdered his dad. But then still, of course, Briscoe keeps his cool and is just like, boy, I sure wouldn't want to run into this Briscoe guy. Later, Briscoe sends a telegram to San Francisco. He then runs into Amanda, the professor's daughter, and the Bly gang then questions Briscoe. Then the professor drops something on Pete. And then, this was funny. Then Pete says he's going to shoot Briscoe, pulls out his gun. But then, of course, Briscoe grabs the gun and turns it on him. And then everybody just freaks out. And they go, you touched Pete's piece. Pace.
Yeah, and everyone's like, nobody touches. And they say like Pete's piece like 10 times, like between all the characters as they're talking about this. It was pretty funny. And you know, the kind of double entendre joke is that like, you know, his piece is his piece.
Sure, absolutely. And so that sets up for your classic duel, your Western style duel. Briscoe and Pete, they stand opposite each other. And then there's intercut, or like the other members of the Bly gang setting up like around Briscoe, and you can see them like priming their guns, ready to shoot him down. We then get Chapter 5, Yell to Your Horse. They then do the classic sort of spit take. Everybody spits out something while they're waiting for everyone to draw their guns. And Pete draws his gun. But since this is Brisco County Jr. and they're extra smart and like to do things different, Briscoe just hits the dirt, and all the Bly members shoot each other. So yeah, this is the first time Pete dies in the Brisco County Jr. Series, right here in the pilot. And yeah, he definitely comes back for multiple episodes, which is hilarious. So yeah, and yeah. So any comments about that duel?
No, it was cool. They shot it like, it's so funny because they shot it like an old Western would, like an old Western TV
serious.
Show. Yeah, super serious. Lots of long shots. The only part that was like not serious was when like everybody like involved in the duel, the 4 gang members and Briscoe, they each do like a spit take, and there's like a close up of like them all doing like spitting out whatever chew or whatever it's supposed to be. But yeah, it was like a straight up Western for a couple minutes there.
Yeah, but then they flipped it on its head, as they do.
Yeah.
So Dixie and Briscoe head to the bedroom, and Briscoe.
We should point out, because I think it's important later, and I don't think you mentioned it, that at this point, right after the duel, Professor Wickwire, he had watched the whole thing, and he has a conversation with Briscoe, and he's like, "Oh, how did you do that? Did you calculate the angle of this and that?" And he's like, "No, I just kind of hit the ground and close my eyes."
Right. Yeah, that's a good line.
But this is kind of important because it kind of establishes that Wickwire has like this. He's drawn to.
Yes,
Briscoe,
he's very impressed
he's a smart
by
guy.
Briscoe.
A little Freudian slip there.
I was just thinking about Pete's piece, you know.
Oh, I think you might have been thinking about Bruce's piece.
Oh, now you just made it real. Okay. Anyway. Dixie and Briscoe head to the bedroom. Briscoe tries to get info from her, and then she tells him about the plan to rob the train. And then she takes off Briscoe's gun, which is again sort of like an indicator that they're about to have sex, and then they totally have sex. Where in the sort of
full penetration on network TV, unbelievable.
Well, they have it in the most sort of PG, like off-screen. I mean,
PG,
it's just that
family friendly.
It's just that he did. I mean, usually, the pulp heroes of like the 40s and 50s, I guess, would just like, I'm not gonna lay down with a dame like you. But
right, but he does it anyways, even though the whole time he's also kind of into the other girl. I can't remember.
Right. Well. Again, it's all very Indiana Jones. I mean, Indy had sex with that Nazi girl in the 3rd movie. So, I mean, what can you do? Briscoe then sneaks off after their sexual encounter. And I have to say
their sexual converse.
Yeah. But the lighting, like on Dixie and in the room in general, is just so noir. It's like they've got They've even, the Venetian blinds like shining on, the moonlight shining on her. Like it's so detective noir, but it works. It's just, I mean,
it's fun as you say that. Two Real Geeks said, "Why did you make him sound like a mobster?"
That I make everyone sound like a mobster eventually.
Yeah. It's actually Bubba from Team 3D is who everybody sounds.
What are you talking about, Yahel? All right.
That's a deep cut. Steve and I went to the Dudley Boys Professional Wrestling School just to explain that.
Yeah.
We know Bubba very well.
Yeah. He's the most hated man in wrestling right now, I think. But anyway.
Always.
So Briscoe then checks out the railroad. He puts his ear to it and says, someone is definitely working on the railroad. He then sees Big Smith telling some workers to do something. Briscoe then accidentally wakes up a guard, but then jumps on his horse, and then there's a big chase that ensues. Briscoe rides back to the stalls where the professor's daughter, Amanda, is waiting, and does the classic sort of, I've seen James Bond pull this one. He's like, quick, make out with me so they won't know that that they were chasing me.
Right.
And they totally fall for it. The professor then shows up. I love how the professor just doesn't care. It's like, do you want my daughter, Briscoe? Just have her. Go ahead. The professor shows up. It takes Briscoe to his lab, then shows him that he's been working on a rocket this whole time. And they have
It looks cool, man. Like the way they made it, like it looks almost like steampunkish.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this
really cool.
Yeah, Briscoe definitely takes a lot of cues from the Wild Wild West, not the Will Smith movie, but the 60s show, which I actually loved. So when Briscoe came around, I was already primed and ready for it. Yeah,
I bet you were primed and ready. The moment you saw Bruce Campbell's name. Oh no, wait, this is how you heard of him. Never mind.
Right. Yeah, and then they have like a pretty cool back and forth talking sciencey stuff to, and it just further shows that, Briscoe.
Yeah, and it's Wickwire and Briscoe that are having the back and forth.
Right, there's no time, there's no place for Amanda to come in there and have science talk. She's busy making a cake. And
yeah, and it's really cool the way they did it, because it's like Wickwire is saying like, yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm thinking of adding this to the rocket to help fix this problem. And then Briscoe's like, yeah, that'll do that, but what if you did? But if you did this other thing, it would like help with this thing and blah blah. I don't know. It seemed very realistic. Where a lot of times, like when on shows that have like techno babble kind of stuff, it can just not seem like a real conversation.
Oh yeah, we experienced a lot of that during our VR days, our VR episodes. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, it all sounded very natural and accurate.
Yeah.
So let's see. Big Smith, or next day at the bar, Big Smith captures Lord Bowler to point out Briscoe. He doesn't, which is really cool because it just shows that, he's trustworthy and that they're eventually going to become friends and partners. But then they bring out Comet. And this time they have the green apple. And he goes right up to Briscoe. So Briscoe got turned in by his horse. Ooh, that's got to sting.
Yeah. For an apple.
Yeah, for a green apple. The Bly gang then ties up Briscoe and Bowler on the railroad tracks, which is a classic sort of Western trope. Then we see Chapter 6, Spur of the Moment. Great pun. They try to get Comet to chew through the ropes. And again, that's the first choice. Instead, he uses his hooves to break the ropes that way.
Yeah, which is hard to explain. Like, I don't even know how you get a horse to do this, but like there was like a rope that was kind of like tying, because so their arms are tied, but then they're also tied to the track.
Well, they're tied by their torsos also.
To the track, and then like Comet starts like stomping on the rope that's against the track with his metal hooves.
Yeah. It makes sense when you see it. It actually does.
Yeah, it really does. And it shows you how like smart Comet is.
Right, for sure. Briscoe, he moves Bowler out of the way, but leaves him tied up. I guess
their whole conversation is really funny too, while like Bowler and like Briscoe are tied up, like especially like when Briscoe says, "Oh, maybe we can get Comet to bite the horse." Like Bowler's actually then calling Comet over to try to get him to like bite his off.
It reminded me a lot of when Indy and his dad were tied up in The Last Crusade. Same sort of thing. So Comet breaks Briscoe's ropes. Briscoe then grabs Bowler and sort of pushes him to the side, but doesn't untie him. He's just like, I gotta go.
Just gets him off the
tracks.
Yeah,
exactly. And he's like, but the train is that way. And so Briscoe is riding back to the professor's place to get on that rocket. And he is this like the greatest sort of a euphemism for like, just riding a giant rocket. Like it's like Briscoe has just the biggest cock in all of the Wild West. Like pretty
much. Yeah, like, and what's crazy, so I was reading up on the production of this episode, and that they built that like thing. And so basically the rocket, I would say, is probably like maybe like 10 feet long, maybe a little bit longer, and it's like this big metallic cylinder, and it's shooting flames out the back, and they've got it like on some kind of wooden platform that's and it's on the tracks. So now he's riding the rocket down the tracks, but they like built the thing that's riding on the tracks is a real thing. This wasn't like a special effect thing or anything. It has like a combustion engine. They like built it just for this. And and in a lot of the shots you can see like it's legitimately Bruce Campbell like riding it on a lot of the shots, and there's no green screen or anything. Like it was a legit thing they built, and it's nuts.
It's awesome. So he catches up to the train, and this was a little convenient. Like he's like, oh no, I can't stop, and then the rocket
Yeah, he's like, I've got no
Yeah,
brakes.
and then the rocket fizzles out right when he gets there, which allows him to then lasso his way onto it. A little convenient, but I'm going with it. At this point, the movie completely wins you over.
The man just rode a rocket on a train track to catch up with a train. I mean, I think we can...
Exactly.
We can let it running out of fuel slide, regardless of how convenient the timing
Absolutely. So then Briscoe and Big Smith have a fight. Briscoe, again, I feel like the fight was a little short, but, I mean, they're really packing a lot into this pilot, so I'll forgive it. Anyway, he throws the orb at Big Smith, and the orb knocks Big Smith out of the train, along with the orb into, this gorge that has, a lake in it. And now we're at Chapter 7, Grave Peril. The train then jumps the track, but eventually comes to a halt. Did you notice all the the miniatures they used?
The miniatures,
yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, they're pretty good miniatures.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. One thing, what a coincidence. I was just about to talk about this. The train. So Two Real Geeks just put in the chat such a Back to the Future 3 moment there, and what I was actually literally about to say as he or she wrote that was that the train used in this in Brisco County Jr. is the train from Back to the Future 3. It's literally the same train.
I never knew that. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This is definitely, I have in my notes at the end here that Brisco County Jr. is a mix of the Wild Wild West, Indiana Jones, and even Back to the Future 3. I think that pretty much...
Yeah, there's some sci-fi elements and stuff.
And then when they're hanging out with the Scarred Foot Clan, it reminds me of Big Trouble in Little China. But anyway.
It almost reminds me of Firefly, but in the actual...
Right, gotcha. Yeah, that works. So, all right, we get a shot of the orb. Apparently it floats. I remember the first time I saw it floating, I was like, that's weird. But again, it's this, it's a UFO. It can do whatever it wants. So Briscoe goes to talk to Mr. Thorogood, the owner of the train track, and he asks him when he went into business with one John Bly. And basically, he says he wanted the orb, but then the government took it, so he he paid for the Bly gang to rob it. He asks what's so important about the orb. Thorogood says that it gave the miners who took it, the strength of 10 men, and he knows because he tried it himself. He then punches Briscoe in the face and basically throws him around the office. And basically what has happened is the orb has basically gave the strength that it gave to the miners to, I keep wanting to call him George Thorogood, but it's just Thorogood. So they fight for a bit, and this is also kind of a bit of a disappointment. Out of just nowhere, at convenience, it sort of just turns Mr. Thorogood to dust, Last Crusade style.
Which kind of goes back to, I think it was Briscoe that said it, that or maybe, was it in this scene where he's like, oh, you don't know what you're messing with this power?
Yes, he does say that. He does. I don't know. It's good that he said that, but they could have been I don't know. Maybe they reveal more information in later episodes. Again, it's not a complete down or anything. But again, I wish Briscoe would have been the cause of Thorogood's demise instead of just sort of by accident. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so I think the reason why the fight scenes are short, why Briscoe wasn't the cause of his demise, is the same reason why Briscoe doesn't actually even shoot his gun in this episode, is that the producers wanted the show to be family friendly.
Okay.
So they wanted to keep the violence to a minimum and also kind of make it cartoonish.
Sure, I can see that.
So, and they also wanted to establish that Briscoe, he'd rather think his way out of a situation. That's why they didn't have him use his gun.
And I definitely got that for sure. He didn't have to I just wish he would have been the cause, whether he thought his way or used violence or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. Now, the special effect that they did when George Thorogood
turned to dust.
Two Real Geeks has said, does that make him bad to the bone then? It did indeed. The special effect of him withering away and then was really well done, I thought, especially for 1993 TV. Cool kind of morphing effect. And it looked like they morphed him into a practical kind of I don't know, like a desiccated, dried out.
Oh yeah, I mean
body,
it was straight out of
thing.
Last Crusade. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean it was just like, you know, I think it was Bohm, like that writer. He's just like, well, I'm gonna take all the stuff that worked in Last Crusade and just weave it into this show. So yeah, basically Briscoe is victorious. Briscoe and then Socrates have a few words, and they basically become better friends. It's actually a pretty funny exchange. Socrates is like, I'm even thinking about dropping my G's. What do you think about that, Brisk? And and yeah, it's.
He's like, I'll be catching you later, Brisk, or
as,
something like that. He's like, that's another thing I'm thinking of doing. Giving people, what do you say about the nicknames?
Yeah, like shortened nicknames or something like that.
Yeah, shortening nicknames.
Yeah. So yeah, they have a really fun dynamic that continues throughout the series. But
it's cool because like Socrates, like I assumed from the beginning, and the way he's introduced to us, and I bet it's to make the audience think this too. It's you know, that he's just going to be a boring stick in the mud with no personality. You're never going to hear him cracking jokes. He's your generic, studious nerd kind of character by the book guy. But no, instead he's like making fun of him at himself, and like, you know, making his own jokes. Like you can see the guy got some personality. And I also really like that they didn't just have Briscoe and this guy just continue to be like, again, your typical adversary.
Oh yeah, that would have gotten old really fast. Yeah, for sure. So then we get a somewhat heartfelt moment at the end when Briscoe goes to his dad's grave. He says he's sorry he missed the funeral and a lot of other stuff. And he says he's going to finish the job that his dad started. And then he rides off into the sunset. And and that's basically the pilot for Briscoe County Jr. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we answered the question, Yahel?
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I just spilled water all over myself trying to take a drink.
So got a hole in your lip there, Yahel?
No, I don't think there's much to add to it. The couple of extra tidbits I had from production stuff, I already kind of mentioned. Like I said earlier, it was canceled after one season. There's 27 episodes, and you can watch them on Tubi. The ratings were initially really good for the first couple of episodes. Even they re-aired the pilot like a few days after it first aired, and it still got really good ratings the second time they aired it. So it started off like really good, and like there were Fox executives saying in interviews that Bruce Campbell was going to be the next big like TV. So like Fox thought this was going to be their big hit that year, and instead it ended up being X-Files, which aired right after Briscoe County Jr., and they thought Briscoe County would bring viewers to the X-Files, which, anyways, after a few episodes, ratings started to decline, and they were pretty bad, and by the end of the season, it was their lowest rated show.
That's so sad. Human beings are the worst.
And from what I was reading, according to the producers, even then with those low ratings, Fox executives were still on the fence about whether or not to cancel it, because they believed in the show and they thought like if it got a second season that it could gather that audience, you know, through word of mouth and this and that. But ultimately, they ended up not renewing it. I guess I did have a lot more to say, Steve. I guess I'm a liar.
I think for a while it ran in syndication on TNT, if I remember correctly. Yeah, like I can't believe that wasn't enough to like bring it back from the dead. But oh well, maybe there's an alternate universe, you know, since multiverses are all the rage these days, where where Briscoe County Jr. survived and the X-Files got canceled in one season.
Well, Two Real Geeks put it out here. He said that he could see Fox picking this up or even trying to reboot it at some point. Yeah, I don't know who owns the rights to it, but I could see this getting a reboot and being more successful now if you cast it correctly.
Sure, yeah. There's actually a when I was collecting the art for this, someone made like a fake advertisement with like old, like, well, I should say current day Bruce Campbell, like playing like an older Briscoe County, and it's called like, I don't know, Briscoe County Jr. the later years or something like that. It's pretty cool, I don't know, meme or fake advertisement or whatever you want to call it. All right, let's wrap this puppy up. Question. So, Yahel Velazquez County Jr. Do you think that the adventures of Brisco County Jr. should be remembered for all of human history, or tossed in the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
Yeah, I think my answer is going to be obvious. Both of our answers, we've been praising the show the whole time. I say yes, definitely should be remembered. It's fun. It holds up well. Great production values. Doesn't feel dated at all. Outside of it being like in 4:3 aspect ratio, I guess. But you know what? Maybe you're a mongrel that'll just stretch it out to widescreen because you need that. And it
would look so bad. God, it would be so distorted.
Yeah.
No, I
I
agree with you 100%. Like, I can't believe how well this held up. I mean, I didn't think I was gonna, toss it in the black hole or anything, but I enjoyed it so much watching it again. And I mean, I feel sorry for everyone involved that it didn't become bigger than it was. And yeah, there's definitely gold in them there Brisco County hills, I'd say, to be rebooted, or even just like a movie.
Yeah, funny enough, Two Real Geeks put in the chat, or even a movie.
Oh, nice. See, we're on the same. That's Danny. I just did an episode of him for Theme Park Legends, and his episode will be
nice.
coming up soon. And yeah, he's a really cool. And I'm going to be going on his podcast to talk about this, and of course the comic book. But before we get to that, let me run the remembered bumper. Here we go. In accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show. Whew.
So one other thing I did want to mention that I read while doing my research, there was an interview with Bruce Campbell where he said that Brisco County Jr. was his favorite role that he's ever.
I've heard that, yeah. Wow, even better than Ash. Well, Ash is such an asshole, so yeah, I could see that.
He said that it was his favorite role, that it was his toughest year in terms of like work. I think he meant like physically tough, but also his favorite year ever.
If you read his autobiography, which is a really fun read, he says that he and Comet did not get along, actually, he and the horse. And he kept like falling off of him and stuff, just like fun stuff. But yeah, man. So anything else to talk about before we call it quits here?
No, nothing for me to plug quite yet. I'll have new videos out soon. What about you?
Well, of course, since it's almost April, it'll be exactly 1 month before the comic book Escape to Earth goes live. I know we're already running long here, but I assume since this is Bruce Campbell that we're hopefully going to get a lot of views. So I'm just going to go ahead and run the Escape to Earth trailer right now. I'm having a weird day. The name's Adam. Where I'm from, I'm known as the Zero Thief. Depending on who you ask, some might say I'm the best thief. But believe it or not, even the best screws up every once in a while, and that's what I did, and I had to make a fast getaway. I ended up crash landing on this bizarre planet. Turns out, I didn't get away fast enough. These winged freaks followed me here.
It's just us here, Zero Thief, on this empty, backwoods planet. So start talking, either to me or my blade.
Okay, I do have something to tell you. It's about the planet. It's not that empty. Come on, man, I thought you were gonna duck. Loose. Cut me loose. Behind you. Whoa! Thought I was done for. It was gonna be a light snack for a snarling creature, but then she showed up, riding on the back of one of those monsters like it was nothing. And with a wave of her hand, the other razor-toothed beast just stomped away. I'd never seen anyone like her before in my life. I thought I'd say something clever. Thanks, have you seen my ship? She gave me a look that said more than words ever could, because I think she was trying to read my mind or something. And from there, things just got even weirder. Escape to Earth. 30 pages of insane dinosaur action that will leave you hungry for more. Issue 1, Crowdfunding Now. Written and created by Stephen Honeycutt. Art by Antonio Brandao. Colors by Bruno Furlani. Jump on now before the whole human race is extinct. Download the digital preview today. All right. And it'll be, as I said, the crowdfunding campaign goes live May 1st. Until then, if you want to be notified, you can add your email on the pre-launch page. There will be a link in the description of this episode. So I think that's going to do it for today. There, Yahel County the Third.
Sounds delicious.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
I think we're ready to get out of here before I start quoting more Lips of an Angel Hinder music. Dude, that song, it's like, I can't believe you don't, it's good that you don't remember because it got stuck in my head. It's so catchy.
Just remember the name Hinder. It should have been Hinderberg. That's what they should have called themselves.
Oh my God. All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Thanks everyone in the live chat who showed up. And anyone who's experienced it via YouTube or Twitch or even podcast. Thanks for downloading. And we'll see you next Sunday as we continue to discuss even more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. Bye-bye.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.